Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 7 of B-Road Ballers, the review series for Gran Turismo 6's hot hatches. And in this episode we're featuring a hugely popular and very highly respected hot hatch, the 2001 EP type Honda Civic Type R. Now there are two primary versions of this Civic on the game. There's this 2001 version and there's also a slightly facelifted 2004 model. Their specs are very similar, and so I chose to review the original of the two, the 01 spec. Now, as I said, this is a hugely popular car. It's one of the most respected and widely loved hot hatches on the market, although obviously it's not technically on the market anymore. So what does it have to offer compared to both the other front-wheel drive hot hatches and also the other hot hatches in general? Well, unsurprisingly, it's a very good car to drive. And one of its best attributes is actually the weight. With the full weight loss package, it weighs a very impressive 996 kilos, which significantly undercuts many of the other hot hatches, even many of the other front-wheel drive hot hatches. And for a track car, low weight is never a bad thing. Now, the engine is Honda's legendary 2-litre VTEC. It's turbocharged when fully tuned, and puts out a respectable 411 horsepower. Now the torque isn't particularly high, which isn't surprising from a VTEC. They're kind of like motorbikes in that you need to rev them and push them hard to really get the best out of them. Peak power comes at 9,000 RPM, peak torque just behind that at 8,500. And I'd say that's probably the only real downside to the car, that you need to really rag the engine to get the best out of it, whereas some other hot hatches which do have more torque have more lazy low-end power, which is more accessible more quickly, whereas with the Honda you really have to rev it to the max to get the best out of it. It's by no means a bad car though, and it's by no means slow, certainly not. Around here at Suzuka it's a very quick machine, both for its PP and for its power, and it's a very quick hot hatch in general. The horsepower per tonne is a respectable 413, and fully tuned the PP is 519. So it's no slouch compared to its rivals. Top speed is over 200 miles per hour, which is very respectable for its performance. And although obviously being all-wheel drive, it's not the quickest of vehicles off the line, there is very little understeer to the Civic Type R, as long as obviously you tune it properly. Now the main thing that the Civic Type R is known for is of course its handling, and this model in particular I would say is possibly the best handling version of the Civic on the game. Now obviously there would be some argument against that from purists, and everyone has their personal favourites, but the handling to me on this particular version of the Civic just feels a little bit better balanced than some of the other models. Now obviously we can't compare it to the newer model because it's not available on the game, it's only available as the saloon version. Incidentally though, that car does also handle very well. Now against other hot hatches, in a straight line it's not necessarily quite as quick as some of them, but overall many people don't use the Civic Type R as a straight line machine anyway. It's more of just a track car in general. And one of the good things about the Civic Type R in general is it's not limited to a particular track type in terms of how effective it can be. Because its PP is relatively low compared to its potential, you can use it on a wide variety of tracks and it will be very effective on those tracks. You can use it on tight city tracks, moderate speed technical tracks such as here at Suzuka, high speed tracks even such as potentially Monza or tracks like that. The range of effectiveness of the car is relatively wide, which is good. It means it's highly competitive on the majority of tracks. And as I said, the handling is actually very good, one of the best, if not the best, of the front wheel drive hot hatch class. The cornering overall is a lot less heavy than you'd expect from a front-wheel drive car. I would recommend with any front-wheel drive vehicle not using any camber whatsoever, because you just don't need it. And this car with no camber can outhandle vehicles which you would think it wouldn't have a chance of even keeping up with, let alone beating. Now, although I'm saying it's a giant slayer, obviously there are limits to that. It's not the kind of car that could take on a racing car and necessarily win. But within the category of hot hatches, it is a very competitive model, and it only costs 22,000 credits, so the value for money is very good. That's about half the price, if not less, of many of its rivals, which the majority of hot hatches cost over 40 grand on Gran Turismo, so 22 grand does undercut them by a significant amount. Overall then, if you're looking for an excellent all-round hot hatch which is fun, easy to drive, very responsive to tuning and highly competitive, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better one than the Civic Type R, and that's coming from someone who isn't even really a fan of the Civic Type R. So I would recommend this to anyone who's looking for a competitive hot hatch. And that's it for this episode, so I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.